The release of Spider-Man 2 was pretty exciting news for gamers around the world. Well, as long as they had the right console anyway. Just as the launch of Starfield was exclusively delivered for Microsoft's Xbox console and the PC audience, Spider-Man 2 was a PlayStation exclusive. PlayStation 5 exclusive, to be exact.
And while that is not an issue for those who already possess a shiny PS5 system, it does leave those of us who, have not made that console purchase yet on the outside, definitely looking in.
And that includes yours truly. As much as I hate to admit it, I haven't jumped on the PlayStation 5 bandwagon yet. Partially because it's not exactly a cheap purchase, but mostly because I haven't observed anything coming out on a PlayStation 5 yet that compelled me to purchase one. We have our Xbox Series X that has faithfully served us for most of the new games that are coming out, and then we have our Nintendo Switch for all of the Nintendo gaming goodness. We've survived thus far with our PlayStation 4 if there were any Sony exclusives that we needed to play. And not just any PS4, mind you, we are proud owners of the Spider-Man PS4 Pro model.
So, the news of the new Spider-Man game coming out exclusively on the PS5 is a bit problematic for us, being that we are pretty big Spider-Man fans who who don't have a PS5. Tough decisions need to be made here.
Well, here's my conundrum. I was a Sony fan long before Microsoft ever unveiled their first Xbox console. I've been a proud and mostly satisfied owner of every PlayStation console in existence up to this point. That even includes their portable systems. I suffered with them through their slow adoption of broadband internet technology. I dealt with multiple PlayStation 2 console replacements due to drive tray issues, faulty disc readers. I faithfully bought each of their consoles to this point more than once. Original versions, slim versions, now pro versions. I've been a fan through the thick and the thin, literally. I embraced all of their attempts at technological innovation. I bought the iToy. You probably didn't even know that thing existed. And the Sony VR. But now, I don't even possess their most recent system. And that Spider-Man PS4 Pro console, it still sits in our entertainment center, but I can't honestly even recollect the last time we powered it on. Over the years, my faithfulness to the Sony console family has slowly started to dwindle as I felt my heart turn towards their competitors. And while I still retain a nostalgic appreciation for what Sony and their gaming legacy has meant to me over the years, I find myself exclusively spending time with my Xbox and Switch now.
But since that beautiful looking Spider-Man 2 game isn't coming out anywhere near either, of those two consoles, we have to make a decision. If we want to play the game and experience it for ourselves, we will have to restore a relationship with Sony, make the investment, and pick up a PS5 console. It isn't a punishment, it is simply a prerogative for participation.
Dealing with prerequisites, like my Spider-Man PlayStation 5 predicament, is a problem I find all too often in my spiritual life as well. The scriptures are full of beautiful verses promising us things like, the Lord will grant us the desires of our heart. There's typically a prerequisite to enjoy those benefits, and in a world that frequently pushes the false narrative that we can have what our heart desires without any sacrifice, it's easy for that same thought process to seep its way into our relationship with the Lord.
I really wanted to make a joke there with the whole desires of our heart and be like, give us a PS5 Pro, maybe.
No. It's just going to make the video longer.
Now, while it is true that the amazing grace and unmerited favor of the Lord is a free gift that cannot be earned or bought, that does not mean that possessing this free gift gives us access to the benefits of a committed relationship with Him without our fulfillment of His prerequisites first.
While our access to His throne of grace has been fully and freely purchased through Christ's sacrifice, receiving the answers to our prayers in the time frame or the manner that we would prefer is not as simple as just raising our voice to heaven and waiting for the Lord to send us what we desire through DoorDash. As a matter of fact, as countless saints have found through the years, the Lord's responses can often come later than we had hoped, differently than we had hoped, or answered with an undesired no or not yet. Sure, sometimes the Lord's responses to our cries are delayed for a reason. But there's also an area of responsibility that we own to see the desires of our heart come to pass, as found in both the Old and the New Testament, to delight ourselves in the Lord and seek His kingdom first.
Not because following the Lord is merely a pathway to getting what we want, but because a relationship with Him is our heart's desire. As a matter of fact, it is more than just good advice for seeing answers to our prayers. It is a commandment.
Throughout the Bible, it's made clear that while the Lord does delight in giving good things to his children, he does have an expectation of being placed first in our hearts, in our minds, and in our lives. And without meeting that prerequisite, my prayers are as hopelessly misaligned with him as me purchasing a PlayStation 5 copy of Spider-Man 2 and placing it into my Xbox Series X, hoping that it will somehow load itself.
The disc itself has all the capabilities of playing and running the game it contains, but I can't place it into a different console that runs on an entirely different operating system and then expect it to work.
When seeking answers to our prayers in life, we have an honest questions we have to ask ourselves. Are we trying to force a PlayStation 5 experience to happen in a different console simply because it's what we already possess and how we prefer to receive it? The reality is, the Spider-Man series of games are not coming to Nintendo or Xbox now or at any time in the future. They were designed for a Sony console by a Sony internal studio. The same way that Master Chief shows up exclusively on Microsoft and PC platforms and Mario only parties on a Nintendo console. There is a prerequisite to enjoying the ongoing adventures of Peter Parker and Miles Morales. And I'm going to have to accept the reality that if I want to play this game as well as any future releases in that series, I have to get myself a PlayStation 5.
And along those same lines, there is only one way to enjoy the answers to our prayers we are currently sending up to the heavens. We must be willing to exclusively play the game on the Lord's operating system. This moves us beyond simply believing in him and into truly pursuing him and possessing a real relationship with him. Not because that is a means to an end so we can receive the answers to our prayers, but because a relationship with him and following his will for us in life is an answer to our prayers.
The omniscient Lord, who knows our hearts better than we do, can see into our deepest hidden inner motives, as well as through to the end of our story to ensure that the good gifts that he gives us meets his criteria for good, a standard that's far higher than we can comprehend on this side of eternity.
The Lord isn't preventing us from having good things when he doesn't immediately snap his fingers and give us the answers to our prayer. He is simply following his promise to exclusively reward those who diligently seek him.
And he isn't punishing those who haven't chosen to pursue him by ignoring their cries for help. He is allowing those desires and needs to bring them to the place of realizing their need for a savior and coming to him so they can have the best things, instead of simply settling for poor material substitutes of no eternal value. Sony isn't punishing or excluding anyone by delivering the Spider-Man 2 game on the PlayStation 5. They're simply enticing the entire gaming audience to upgrade with an amazing game that was exclusively designed to run on that platform.
Sure, the initial investment will be steep. Commitments usually are, and it won't be the last investment we will have to make. Sure, the PS5 is here now, but there was also a 1, 2, 3, 4 in the past, so it stands to reason there will be more in the future, all coming at a cost.
This is the same principle that Christ was speaking of when he told us to count the cost before choosing to follow him. To receive all that our Father has for us, we must be prepared to accept it on his exclusive terms, make the commitment to pursue him with all of our hearts. So if we truly want the answers to our deepest and most intimate prayers, the reality is they can only be found in a deeper and more intimate relationship with the one who does more than simply answer our prayers. He is the answer to our prayers. And when we're willing to lose ourselves in the pursuit of him, it is then and only then that we find everything we were looking for.